Hi guys, good evening. This is Dr. Jenny, physical therapist and doctor of physical therapy, creator and founder of Balance and Fall Support Group in Aging Adult, and the current vice chair of Global Health in Aging Adults in Academy of Physical Therapy Association Special Interest Group. So it's my opportunity tonight to discuss more about our innovators, physical therapists, entrepreneurs, and clinicians. Every Thursday, we do a highlights. Every Monday, we do a highlights. And every Thursday, we feature them in some short of video, just like this. So for tonight, for our Thanks God It's Thursday, we have our opportunity to discuss more about another innovation. And of course, another great therapist turned entrepreneur and scientist. I really enjoyed learning more about these great physical therapists and innovators. So please welcome Mr. Armin Loges. He is originally from Southern Brazil. And also
Correct.
now he's staying and based in Florida as a physical therapist. He has more than 30 years plus clinical as a physical therapist. And now he's the CEO and founder of Finch app. So Finch app is another wellness innovation, and we will learn more about it. All right. So we want the best for our 60 plus or older and aging adult to be safe and know more about prevention. And Armin will discuss more about that. That will be available anytime soon this coming year. So Armin, tell us more about yourself first. So
Well,
thank you so much.
absolutely. Thank you, Jenny, for having this conversation with
You're
me
welcome.
and representing Finch.
Mhm.
Basically, Finch got its birth out of frustration. First, as the child of aging parents, as you said it before, I came from southern Brazil. Well, my parents stayed in southern Brazil, and at this time, they're just getting to the age of my patients. So it's of concern to me. I don't like to, during my weekly phone call, to just find out that my father took a fall. He's taking warfarin for AFib. Just basically, I would like to have him safe. So that's my frustration number one. Frustration number two was the fact that we did have something to assist folks that have taken a fall, which is fall alerts. These fall alert buttons, this personal emergency response systems. The problem that I have with them is that they're only fulfilling their mission after some damage has occurred. As a physical therapist, we know that we can prevent these things. We can actually forecast these things to a certain extent, and we can, take action and prevent the fall in the first place. So that's frustration number two. Frustration number three is the fact that I will see patients after they've taken their falls, the fall alert went off, they were brought to the hospital, and then we'll get them back into shape. We'll send them home. They will go to our clinic, and we'll treat them in the clinic. We'll get them to a certain point, and then, truth and behold, they show up in the hospital again because sooner or later they end up taking another fall. So you can imagine, as being a physical therapist, if you could be with a certain person the entire time, never go to sleep, just keep your eyes on them, be testing them all the time, be aware of their strength, be aware of their balance, be aware of their alertness, their cognition, be alert of everything that we know as clinicians that can prevent us from getting into harm's way. That takes care not only of falls, that takes care of a myriad of things. That takes care of knowing that you're coming down with an infection, knowing that there's some dysfunction, cardiological dysfunction, or movement dysfunction of some kind. So rapidly, the concept expanded, and it became, a mission of ours. And we've been researching this before actually the Apple Watch was on the market. And so we're actually building hardware at the time, getting sensors to be able to be those eyes and that presence of someone skilled in someone's body, basically in my parents' body, that they could be, through sensors, being able to make sense of things. And then came the Apple Watch, and then our life got much easier. So we developed Finch as an app for the Apple Watch because the Apple Watch has all the sensors of all the data that we actually can make good use of it. So by being a physical therapist first and a developer second, it made very good sense for me to actually enter the realm of Finch through the means of motion. So through motion, we can actually detect many things. And then when we combine the sensor information from gyroscopes and accelerometers and everything else that the Apple Watch has to offer, now we can actually add a little bit of machine learning.
Armin,
In other
excuse,
words,
your TV is
yeah.
working, so the background. So I just want
Oh,
the
yes.
mon
So it's because of my phone went to sleep.
okay, yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, when the phone goes to sleep,
It will go straight to Netflix.
it goes to Netflix.
Okay, yeah, I know we will use that to show the Finch. So I just want to.
That's right. That's right. So I'll put it on and I'll do my best to keep it from going to sleep. So with all these sensors, we have the ability not only to perform many of the desirable tasks that a clinician would, but it's a machine that never goes to sleep. It's a machine that rather than to see a person or a patient for a few minutes during the day during an evaluation or a consultation, is actually working multiple times a second nonstop for as long as the user has the Apple Watch running on the wrist. So that created that whole new realm of technology that, as of our understanding right now, and we do pay attention, there is nobody yet using to this extent. So it is really an app made for my parents, and to that extent, it will expand to just about every patient that I have ever had, and including even a younger population. So a younger population, for example, a kid that lives in a college dorm but suffers from seizures or severe diabetes, or something that would be good to have a level of wellness management and a system of alerting the user and their loved ones of something that is starting to go wrong. So it doesn't even have to necessarily wait for something to go really bad. So the goal actually, instead of trying to do just a fancier fall alert button, which is it works after the fall, damage is already done, is actually to pick up on something before the user even notices, so that it is still a small problem and it can be addressed either by advice of the app to the user or by suggesting that the user consult with their physician. Even more specifically, it's smart enough to say you should consult with a neurologist or with a cardiologist or with your GP or with your physical therapist. And not only that, now when you go see the clinician, to be able to nip it in the bud per se, you don't come unarmed. You come actually with the report provided by Finch itself that shows exactly the things that were brought to the attention by which you should be doing that appointment. So when you see the clinician has some hardcore data now that they can, address. So it's not like, there is nothing for you to see here yet. As it would be. So for our client population is usually, by the time we figure things out that there's something going on, is because something already has happened.
Okay.
So we would like to actually prevent that.
Nice.
So that is, so there are several use cases for this. Just aging is the primary. So technically everyone from my age and up would benefit from having Finch. And like I said before, you could be an 18-year-old, but if you're an 18-year-old with severe, poorly controlled or intractable diabetes, or with epilepsy, and early onsets of Parkinson's, for example, and so on and so forth. The ability for sensors such as the Apple Watch to pick up on the information that is of significance to a clinician, it is much more accurate, much more minute than it would be by visual inspection, for example.
Okay.
For you to be able to see. On top of that, because it works on your wrist, but it remains on your wrist, it doesn't share the information unless you want to share it with your clinician and with your loved ones. But it's doing that all the time. So imagine when a patient comes to see you and you say, oh, we got to let me observe you walk for me. And at that moment, first of all, the patient knows that they're being observed. It's a very small window in time. So it doesn't really paint a true picture of how this person is normally. Because this is working all the time, as it's observing factors during your sleep, during your waking hours, when you're walking. If you observe a 6-minute walk, we'll create a 6-minute walk test. It has the ability to recognize human activity. So it knows if you're sitting or you're standing, if you're walking, if you're running, the speed by which you're walking, the step length by which you're using, the symmetry of your gait, should anything change. But most importantly, it does two things. For the physical therapist, particularly listening, is it compares the user with the user in the past. So it's always comparing you with you as you're wearing the app. But it's also comparing the user against norms. So, and is running those two things in parallel. So he's saying, are you better than you were yesterday? Yes or no? And are you okay to be within the norms for your age and gender? So that is invaluable information. And from there are many assumptions that can be made. The initial assumptions are fall risk. What is the likelihood of a fall on the short term? Is there a sign of dysfunction starting to happen? Is there a sign of predictive of disease starting to happen? And while it will not be diagnosing anyone, that is the function of the physician, and the Finch does not practice this medicine without a license, but it can inform hardcore data to the clinician. And most importantly, it can tell the user early on to say, there's something not quite right. Here are the facts. If it's something that is easily assumable, it may actually guide that information on the report to the clinician.
So Armin, that's interesting. Can you show us, knowing that you have it already there, that way all the things that you're saying, at least on the spot, we can see how it functions. So because
Absolutely.
September is Falls Prevention Month, so that's really time. It's right timing. That way they have an idea that this is exists, and it will help them on preventing, not really doing something after the fall, as what you said. Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah,
So,
good.
let's shut these lights off here. And here is Finch. Okay. This is actually just my watch. You're actually seeing me sharing the screen from my wrist. Okay. You can see I move and my compass moves there. So you're actually seeing live from my wrist. This is not a recording. And right at the bottom right here, it's a complication of Finch. And what that does is allows for Finch to actually be working on the behalf of the user, even when the user is not on the app. So Finch never goes to sleep. You don't actually have to go on Finch for Finch to work. It will call your attention if something needs attention. And will call the attention of teams you create. So if you have a team of loved ones that you like them to know, very useful on someone that may have, bouts of, for example, hypoglycemia. You want to be informed. You could be asleep, maybe too deep that the Apple Watch couldn't wake you. You would like your wife or your kids, or to be also informed that what Finch is finding, from you. So I'm going to tap on it right there. And that will, let me do it on my watch here. And that opens Finch as soon as I tap it. And it does a calculation. Basically, it looks at the data that it has available, goes to the owner's cloud. So it all happens within the watch and the owner's cloud without going anywhere else. And it creates a score right in the middle. And a score is just means to communicate to the user without any technical knowledge, to saying, just like you would think of a credit score, it creates a Finch score. And this Finch score is basically to say, how are you compared to the norms for your age and gender?
Okay.
Are you within the norms, reasonably within the norms? So you think of a school grade from 0 to 100, right? You have anything better than 75 or so, you have passing grade. Nobody's going to be asking you to go to the emergency room or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
If you pass 100, which is a possibility, that means you're just above your age grade. You're really doing well for yourself. So if you're very athletic, you could possibly have an A plus per se, right? So it is really designed for all ages, but we need to take in consideration, the very elderly, with poor sight, with poor hearing. So the app is really meant to be very minimalistic. So the score actually will change in color and will change in the direction that it's pointing according to the score. So if the score is a low score, it will start turning to the shades of red, and it will start actually pointing down, just to be very intuitive. And then there's 3 buttons here. That's all. There's nothing else to be worried about.
Mm-hmm.
This is a prototype, so when you come into production in this app by next year, early next year, will be in the App Store. There will be a bit of a tutorial here telling you what they are. So it's very, very foolproof. When you look at the top corner here, this is the bell symbolizing notifications. I have 43 because I've been testing them. So there's 43 notifications. And it's basically how Finch would talk to me. It will send me a notification. I could use Siri if I am blind, for example, and Siri could actually read me the notification.
Mm-hmm.
And it will tell me something like, okay, we checked, the checks on for today, everything is fine, nothing to worry about, keep doing what you're doing. Or it may say, your estimated fall risk has increased, and it has increased because of this or because of that. This is addressable, or it's not addressable, or it looks like something really bad, and you should really be planning to go to the emergency room or call your doctor. Right? If it's something that is drastic, then Finch actually makes the call themselves, call 911, with the option for you to actually cancel the call should you think it's not necessary. The user has always the last word.
Okay.
So that is, lost it. Let me go back there. So when we go to this button right here, this is basically where we put fitness, because everybody likes to know their steps and calories they're burning.
Yes,
So
yes.
we have a system there that controls, keeps track of that. So first thing, we give you cumulative of your scores, your Finch scores, in graphic format and in table format. And then we have, steps and distance walk and heart rates and things like that. So some people like that. If I go back to the screen here, this is where I would go to be able to send reports to, say, my physician.
Okay.
So from here, I have, it's basically my settings, and I have the ability to create user-specific norms, for example. It could be that my physician does not care for me to be within the blood pressure norms for my age and gender. It could be that I have kidney disease and they would like my blood pressure lower, or I have had a stroke and they would like my pressure a little bit higher. So I can actually change those norms in there. That reflects on when you're trying to keep track of that. As it creates reports, these reports are clearly identifying what the desired norms are. So if I were to go here, the app knows who I am, knows my age, knows my gender. I had the ability to subscribe, and I have ability to change personal information. A lot of things Finch knows by observing through the sensors, but there's certain things are impossible to be observed. Amongst them is, for example, have you had falls which before you ever even had your Apple Watch, which would be important for us to know and apply that to the calculations of where do you fall within a frailty score, right? And sensors would be able to tell your history. So we'll be asking you, have you had falls within the last 12 months? Have you had falls within the last 3 months? Subjective things such as do you have the fear of falling? Do you feel unstable when you walk? So certain things we need to ask, and we'll ask so Finch can have communication with the user.
That's nice.
So it's a dynamic. Finch is rather smart, actually. Over here is where I would actually create teams. From all my contacts, I can select people to which I'd like to share information with. And we have 5 different teams right now. We have one that is a doctor team. And from a doctor team, from members of this doctor team, I can actually prepare reports to send it to them. And these reports will be one of 4 specialties. Will be a report for a cardiologist. That would include AKG and all parameters that the Apple Watch can collect from heart and things alike. There will be a neurologist report, there will be a GP report, and there will be a physical therapist report. And as we expand this, there will be more types of reports. So that's the doctor team. Full access team would be how I would like my parents to share it with me. I would like everything that Finch tells them to tell me too, so that there's a bit of a feedback and follow up. If Finch is telling them that they should go see their physical therapist, I want to make a phone call, arrange for transportation, schedule an appointment. There's a fitness team, which actually would be sharing then fitness parameters that you would use, to say, like we have here in our neighborhood, ladies, they go for walks every morning, a group of them, and it's a good way for them to become, remain competitive and say, share with each other how they're doing with their fitness and things like that. But the most important part of Finch is actually to be able to be predictive.
Yeah, that's about that.
Be able to forecast. So just like you would have a weather app that can tell you it's very likely, it's like 95% certain it's going to start raining within 5 minutes, and in 5 minutes it starts to rain. We all know as clinicians that mostly by analog means, we can actually have some predictions. We can use these predictions for a myriad of things. In the hospital where I work, the cardiac surgeons, thoracic surgeons, will actually request a frailty test to see if the patient can tolerate open heart or they should have a valve replacement through an artery instead. When you're dealing with oncology, the same thing. The oncologists want a similar test, a frailty, to determine the ability to tolerate this or that chemotherapy.
Okay.
So,
I'm cutting your face. So can you adjust your computer as well so I can, yes, because the app is already good. Yeah, so that's interesting. So we saw the Finch score, and that's really your score. So the higher the number, better. And so do you think that's one of the ways that if it is less than 50%, do you think that's one of the predictor that he needs to improve? And to do some weight.
So the score will be just a general means to say it's not going well or is going well, and it's meant for you to just at a glance to be able to look at it. But we have 55 variables available to use to the benefit of the user in the calculation of and the predictability of possible harm, fall risk, prediction of perhaps disease and things like that. When there is something that needs attention, then yes, the score will drop, but it doesn't give you specifics, right? So we will give the user, just for example, I'm going to show you one of my notifications here. And my score actually, technically, it should be much better than that.
Oh.
And that's the problem. If you're a physical therapist wearing the Finch, and you actually are doing frailty tests with your patients, I'm walking their speed. I'm not only walking their speed, I'm walking sideways as I'm accompanying them to do their 6-minute walk test, right? So all day long, I am actually walking around most of my working hours with octogenarians. So I'm not walking my own speed.
Gotcha.
I'm walking my own speed when I'm by myself. So my score is lower than it should be. But let's see what Finch has to say about that. And this would have been the alert that I got today yesterday at 10 p.m. Right? So yesterday at 10 p.m., it said that based on the provided health data, I have identified some abnormalities. Your spent on 2 feet during walking is outside the normal range. And what that means is I'm spending, if you imagine when I'm running, I have no time with 2 feet on the ground. There's always only 1 foot on the ground, never two. And in a good percentage of my running time, I have no feet on the ground. I'm actually running, right?
Yes.
When I'm walking, I'm spending a lot more time on both feet. But the more I'm spending on both feet, that actually is information that is useful to someone like us. So have informations like that. So basically, it's telling me you're walking slow and you really does not look very. Your agility does not look very good because I'm spending time with patients. So I have to keep their speed. So I'm spending a lot of time as I'm walking. I'm spending a lot of time on where my stance. I'm on stance phase of my gait. So it goes. Oh, additionally, my step length is below my normal range.
Oh, okay.
So it's saying, for my age and gender, I'm walking very short steps. So, for the user, we'll say something similar to that. It could also say, interestingly enough, when you're walking, your heart rate is very low, below norms or something like that. And it will make some assumptions, but it will defer diagnosing to the clinician.
That's really
and
good.
If it's,
So that's really interesting. So imagine it's colorful, first of all. It's easy to track because you only have this 3 settings. There's a setting, there's an activity and the function, and then so if ever there's a red flag, there's already an alert that the more notifications of negativity, that's already your descriptors that it's a prevention because you can track what is your red flag and you need to work on it, right?
Correct.
So, okay, that's really good.
Yeah.
So that's really good, at least as a physical therapy standpoint and when they're athlete. Go ahead.
Yeah. Should these predictors actually come to a very simple conclusion, such as, for example, increased fall risk?
Yeah.
You convey that information.
Okay.
You will, by then, Finch already knows if you use a cane, if you use a walker, if you use nothing. He understands your pattern in all that. And he will actually inform you of that and inform any loved ones you may have created a team with. And depending on the severity of that, he will tell you to act right upon it. To just, you need to see your physical therapist immediately. It could also be something rather mild that Finch would not like to raise hell about it, but something that, say, you would tell your patient on the telephone even without seeing them. Say you have had a patient and you discharge this patient. And
Mm-hmm.
one day they call your office and they say, Jenny, I'm a little bit afraid of falling. I did that test you told me to get up 5 times. It's a little slower than usual. Finch would have known anyway. Um, and you could say, hey, you can come see me, but before we do that, why don't you repeat those exercises that we did when the home health therapist came to your house and you
Yeah.
did squats in front of the kitchen sink or something like that. So Finch is capable of doing such things. They are not very skilled, because when it's skilled, you need a clinician with them. But it's not the end of the world to tell someone to say, stand by the kitchen sink
Mm-hmm.
all through the watch. So be able to communicate that it's a bit of an art because it's a very small screen.
Mm-hmm.
But to say, if you would like to, Finch can try to remedy this for you. And I'm going to use the squat example just for leg strength. And, and we'll say, Finch would like to have you do this every day. Are you up for it? And you say yes or no. You can dismiss it if you don't like it. But you can say, yes, let's do it. And Finch say, okay, let's get you started. Finch starts observing as you're doing it, first of all. It's
Mm-hmm.
timing, it's doing all these calculations about it. How is your speed of performing it? For how long are you able to do it? And then it's going to compare you tomorrow and the day after, as it's running against the data from the sensors, but it's also running against the data of the workout. So it's observing that you, first of all, that you are doing the workout, that you are performing hopefully better each time, and then reflecting the results of it on the sensors data from the things that you had the complaint in the first place. Maybe your walking speed or your stability,
Yes.
or your
Yes.
steadiness, and so on and so forth. So it could try to do that before it would ramp up to say you need to go see Jenny. You know.
That's good. I know there are a lot of things more to learn about the Finch. Will not fit on 1 hour or so. But I remember you told us something last time when I first met you and Robert, that you are looking for beta testers. And then what is
Right.
the function of that? And knowing that we have listeners, we have lots of clinicians, therapists, what are your qualifications, or what do you want from us so we can help you in some ways?
Right. So anyone can be a beta tester. All they have to do is go to our website, which is iwantfinch.com.
Mm-hmm.
And there's clearly a button there where you say, I would like to beta test. And you sign up for it, and we'll be sending you an email from us, and you receive another email from Apple with
Mm-hmm.
instructions. It's a little bit more cumbersome than just downloading an app from the App Store, but we don't have control over it. Apple does.
Mm-hmm.
So we do have clinicians testing the app with us as well. We have
Mm-hmm.
physical therapists, occupational therapists, we have nurses and physicians using it.
Nice.
Um, I am most interested on everyone's opinion, but particularly the opinions of our users, our target population, because
Yes,
some of them don't see very well. Some of them are not technically inclined whatsoever. Actually, some of them are scared of technology.
that's true.
Um,
Mhm.
and I want to know that the interaction with the app is as intuitive as we're trying to build. So
Okay.
the prototype that you're seeing, which is what people will be testing, one of many prototypes that we're running at the same time, is that has different features on it. And we are keeping the features that are most intuitive and easy to use, and provide information that is palatable and
Mhm.
digestible. Um, and we would like basically feedback from people.
Yes, yes.
And at the same time, we do internal testing, but it's a limited number. So when we have larger numbers, when we're producing an app or any piece of software, uh, in order to figure out all the bugs that may be in there, we need larger numbers to test. So people will be
That's
welcome to test. Now,
yeah.
Finch, when it comes online by somewhere in January 2024, it would have two major Finches. There will be a Finch that's always for free,
Mm-hmm.
and there will be a Finch that is subscription. with
Okay.
more information, more data, and things like that. So technically, for people that like it, even if they are just curious to know how the app works and things like that, you can just run it for free without a problem for life, forever. So.
Okay, that's good. So first of all, guys, this will be for our app users, Apple Watch, because this will be downloadable as an app for our Apple users. So thank you so much, Armin. And how can they connect personally with you? If they have some questions about this, I know you already says, I want Finch.com or something, but
Right.
some more information that if they have some questions directly for you, and I can also give and put on our video soon regarding your other information
Yeah.
about the app.
Absolutely. So the most direct way, you can always go to the website. Like I said, iwantfinch.com, and through the contact us button, I get all the emails that come to the company, and I answer them personally. So you'd be getting in touch directly with me just as well. You can also find me on Twitter at Armin Logus. Is my handle. You can also find me on Instagram at Armin Logus, and you can find me on LinkedIn just as well. But for questions and to get into anything lengthier, this emails probably be the best, and then you can just do it through the website. That's the easiest.
Yes. All right. Thank you so much, Armin. This is really interesting, especially September, Fall Prevention Month, guys. And this is another innovation that we can share to our users for our older and aging adult. Prevention is better than cure. Prevention, right? So this is better to prevent rather than keep treating, going to rehab because you had already a fall. So thank you, Armin, for this innovation. We'll definitely share it with our clinicians, for our listeners. So guys, if you have any questions, connect with Armin Logus. He already, and I will going to post as well all his credentials and also contact information. But definitely iwantfinch.com. And also if you are interested to do some beta testers, so at least you can try it, how easy it is to use. And if you have some suggestion that this is more functionable, it's easier that way, especially you are going to use it, and definitely will help our what you call innovators, especially they are still in the process of doing, and it will be published anytime soon on January. So at least they can see and track what's best and what can be better. All right. Any closing remarks, Armin?
No, I just like to thank you for the opportunity to speak to your folks, and look forward to seeing all of you beta testing.
All right. Thank you. I think your dog is now awake.
Yes, he was asking for some affection here just a minute ago.
Okay. Thank you so much. All right, guys. Thank you for listening. It's me again, Dr. Jenny Yusuf, physical therapist and doctor of physical therapy, creator and founder of Balance and Fall Support Group in Aging Adults. And also connect with us and then in Fishigen PT and Wellness. All right, guys. Bye for now. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.